The Young and the Restless spoilers. The air inside the Abbott mansion was suffocating that night, thick with dread, betrayal, and the scent of inevitability. The walls, which once echoed with laughter and the sound of victory celebrations, now pulsed with tension. Diane's voice trembled as she delivered the words Jack had been dreading to hear. Jabot might already be slipping away. She had just come from a board meeting where the numbers didn't add up, where emails had gone missing, and where whispers of a buyout were circulating faster than truth could travel. Kane's name had come up again, and this time not as a distant threat but as a real contender, someone quietly aligning himself with Victor Newman, someone using information that no outsider should ever have had. It was only when Diane saw the fear flicker across Jack's eyes that she understood. The betrayal didn't come from the outside. It came from someone who knew exactly where to strike. That someone was Phyllis Summers. It was almost poetic. Of all the people who could destroy Jabot, it would be the woman Jack once trusted most, the woman who had promised she'd changed. But Phyllis never changed, she evolved. And now, she had turned her evolution into a weapon. The rumors were true. She had stolen the AI documentation that Kane had been developing, a project that was supposed to fortify Jabot's digital infrastructure and make it untouchable in the corporate arms race. But without that documentation, without the codes and system logic that held everything together, Jabot's defenses were gone. Their patents were exposed, their security compromised, and their competitors, chief among them Victor Newman, suddenly had everything they needed to dismantle the Abbott empire. When Diane told Jack this, his silence was more frightening than his anger. His entire life had been dedicated to protecting the company his father built, the company that defined his family. Now, for the first time, he saw how easily it could all vanish, not through incompetence or bad investments, but through the calculated malice of someone he once loved. But it wasn't enough for Phyllis to ruin them. She wanted to own them. Somewhere deep inside Newman Tower, under the glow of glass and gold, Phyllis sat across from Victor himself, her red hair framing a face of dangerous calm. She had come not as a beggar but as a queen demanding her crown. The stolen files were her leverage, and she knew exactly how to use them. She told Victor she had what he needed to cripple Jabot permanently: the algorithms, the trade data, the AI design protocols, and in return, she wanted the one thing that would make her untouchable: the CEO position at Jabot. It wasn't just revenge anymore, it was reclamation. Phyllis wanted to rewrite the narrative that had defined her as the woman who destroyed. This time, she wanted to rule over the ruins. Victor, ever the strategist, said nothing for a long time. His gaze, cold and piercing, studied Phyllis like a puzzle. He admired her audacity. Few people in Genoa City could look him in the eye and make demands. He knew she was dangerous, too dangerous to trust completely, but also too useful to dismiss. The offer was tempting: let her take control of Jabot while he pulled the strings from the shadows. But Victor never gave away power freely. To him, alliances were temporary, loyalty conditional, and partners replaceable. He leaned back, folding his hands, calculating how far Phyllis could go before she realized she'd been outplayed. Meanwhile, back at the Abbott estate, Diane had lost control. The moment she heard that Phyllis had gone to Victor, she snapped. All the composure, all the patience she had fought so hard to maintain, shattered in an instant. She stormed into society, where Phyllis sat smugly at the bar, basking in her newfound infamy. The confrontation was inevitable, a storm years in the making. Diane's voice shook as she demanded to know why, how, what Phyllis hoped to gain by destroying everything they had built. Phyllis just smirked, sipping her drink, her tone dripping with venomous amusement. She told Diane that power was never given, it was taken, and that Jabot deserved someone who wasn't afraid to take it. The words lit a fuse inside Diane. Before anyone could react, she lunged across the table and wrapped her hands around Phyllis's throat, her fury unrestrained. Glass shattered, people screamed, and in that moment, it wasn't about business or rivalry anymore, it was primal. It was about betrayal, humiliation, and the unbearable ache of watching someone desecrate the thing you've sworn to protect. Phyllis didn't fight back. She didn't even flinch. She stared into Diane's eyes with the same calm defiance that had made her dangerous in the first place. It was as if she wanted Diane to lose control, to prove that the Abbotts were cracking under pressure. And in that moment, Diane gave her exactly what she wanted. When security pulled them apart, Jack arrived just in time to see the aftermath, Diane trembling, Phyllis smirking, and the entire restaurant watching in stunned silence. The sight of Phyllis's self-satisfied grin nearly broke him. It wasn't just her betrayal that cut him, it was her arrogance, the certainty that she'd won. He pulled Diane aside, trying to steady her, but his own voice wavered. They were running out of options. Kane had the stolen data. Victor had the leverage. Phyllis had the nerve. And Jabot, their legacy, was on the edge of collapse. Later that night, as the mansion fell quiet again, Diane sat with Jack in the study. Her hands were still trembling, her eyes red from anger and exhaustion. Jack, staring into the fireplace, looked like a man carrying the weight of generations on his shoulders. Diane reached for his hand, her voice softer now, stripped of all pretense. She reminded him that Jabot wasn't just a company. It was their family's identity. And families, no matter how bruised, always found a way to survive. They had faced Victor before. They had outlasted Phyllis before. They could do it again. But this time, survival would require something different, not brute force, but strategy. Diane urged Jack to think like his enemies. If Phyllis had stolen the data, they needed to trace her method. Every file leaves a footprint, every transfer a timestamp. Kane's overconfidence might be his downfall. Victor's patience, though formidable, had limits. Somewhere between those weaknesses was a path back to Jabot's salvation. Jack nodded slowly, his mind already at work. He realized that the only way to beat Phyllis was to become as ruthless as she believed him incapable of being. He would have to step out of the moral boundaries that had always defined him, to play the game on her terms and make her regret underestimating him. For now, Diane's touch was enough to steady him, but both of them knew what was coming. The war for Jabot had officially begun, and this time it wasn't just about control of a company, it was about redemption, pride, and the ghosts of every mistake they'd ever made. As the fire crackled in front of them, Diane whispered what both of them were too afraid to say aloud, "We'll get it back. No matter what it costs." And in the flickering light of that moment, Jack Abbott, the man who had lost too much too many times, silently promised himself that Jabot would not fall. Not to Victor. Not to Kane. And certainly not to Phyllis Summers. The storm brewing inside Jack Abbott has finally broken free. After weeks of humiliation and helplessness, Jack strikes back, not with desperation, but with a strategy so sharp that even Victor and Phyllis won't see it coming. If Victor truly hands the reins of Jabot to Phyllis, Jack's response won't be pleading or negotiation, it will be war. He's been through this before, and every time the world writes him off, Jack proves that no one destroys an Abbott without consequences. Jack's first move will be silent but devastating. While Phyllis celebrates her newfound throne, strutting through the Jabot offices like a queen who believes she's untouchable, Jack will start dismantling her from the inside. He knows how she thinks, how her ego blinds her, how her need for control pushes her to make enemies faster than allies. Using his connections, he'll leak details of Phyllis's corporate theft, how she stole Kane's AI technology, how she manipulated Victor into backing her takeover, and plant those seeds with the board and investors. Within days, whispers will start circulating. Phyllis didn't earn Jabot, she blackmailed her way in. For a company built on trust and heritage, that's a poison that spreads fast. And then there's Diane, who refuses to let Phyllis walk away unpunished. Her rage burns hotter than Jack's restraint. Every time Phyllis appears on-screen smirking, Diane's fury builds. Their feud, once buried under uneasy peace, is now a wildfire. Phyllis taunts her mercilessly, using her power as CEO to humiliate Diane publicly, cutting her out of meetings, discrediting her influence, and mocking her relationship with Jack. But Diane doesn't break. She waits. And when she moves with precision. Viewers will watch her transform from the woman fighting for redemption into a vengeful strategist, using every connection she has to expose Phyllis's illegal actions. Her mission isn't just revenge, it's justice. Still, the chaos doesn't stop with them. The fallout hits Phyllis's children like a storm they never saw coming. Summer Newman, loyal yet morally driven, will be horrified by her mother's ruthless actions. She's worked hard to rebuild her own life, her career at Marchetti, and her family's reputation. To see her mother destroy everything again, for greed, for power, is too much. Summer's reaction will be explosive. She'll confront Phyllis, accusing her of dragging the family name through the mud again, and ultimately walk away from Marchetti entirely, refusing to be a pawn in another one of Phyllis's wars. For Phyllis, that betrayal will sting worse than Jack's revenge, because this time, she's losing something that no power or title can replace, her daughter's respect. Jack's counterattack will escalate when he finds a hidden ally, Kyle Abbott, torn between his family and his ambition. Seeing what Phyllis is doing to his father reignites Kyle's loyalty to the Abbott name. Together, father and son will form an unspoken pact to take back what's theirs. Diane, meanwhile, operates in the shadows, gathering evidence that Phyllis illegally obtained Kane's files. When she finally delivers it to Jack, it becomes the key to the ultimate reversal, a lawsuit that threatens to not only remove Phyllis from power but to expose Victor's hand in the takeover. The legal and moral fallout will shake Genoa City to its core. But Phyllis isn't done fighting. Her reaction to being cornered is always the same, she lashes out with venom and brilliance. She'll try to manipulate Victor into tightening his alliance with her, promising to deliver Jabot's destruction in exchange for protection. She'll blame Jack for everything, paint Diane as unstable, and weaponize public sympathy the way only Phyllis can. Yet deep down, she'll feel the cracks forming. When Summer turns her back, when her old allies vanish, when even Victor starts to question her usefulness, she'll realize that this time, she may have gone too far. The beauty of this storyline lies in its symmetry. Every character pays the price for the very weapon they use. Jack's vengeance risks turning him into the man he once despised. Diane's obsession with revenge could destroy her fragile peace. Phyllis's lust for power will isolate her completely. And through it all, Jabot, the company that started as a symbol of family unity, becomes the battlefield where every old wound reopens. In the coming weeks, the war for Jabot will redefine Genoa City's power map. It's not just about who holds the title of CEO, it's about legacy, morality, and the thin line between justice and obsession. Jack's retaliation will be brilliant, Diane's vengeance personal, and Phyllis's downfall spectacular. But in true Young and the Restless fashion, every victory will come with a cost, and the final twist may reveal that even in victory, no one truly wins.